I know. Bright orange. Same shirt. Oh. Sunday morning, asshole. You want to talk about Jesus? At the end of the day, I'm just kidding about everything. It's not real. I'm just making it all up. It's all just conspiracies. We should talk about something religious, shouldn't we? That's what I talk about. I'm sort of bored. It's sort of boring continuing to be censored like a motherfucker. It's not fun. It's validating, but it's not fun. I was just watching another video. Epstein and Trump posted, yesterday, the day before, 100,000 plus views. Like, clearly that's not something that gets you in trouble. There are so many Kirk videos out there. You can talk about that shit all day. No, I'm gonna get in trouble for that. It really does seem like the only thing that you don't see a ton of is the Jew stuff. Is the direct connection, Like everybody talks about how Epstein was this alleged agent, alleged spy, and Maxwell was an alleged spy. No, they were. Like, I'm so tired of these rules that say, because the information's been hidden from me, I'm not allowed to say the truth as it is. I have to say something like allegedly. Fuck that. That shit's as true as I can tell. And until I get confirmation to the contrary, I'm going to believe it to be true. The narratives with Trump and all the different women and girls, like it's consistent. Not some hoax perpetrated by the Democrats. Like, that's just such stupid shit. But I don't know, it's all so connected. It gets frustrating because it's hard to even talk about one particular thing without, going in all these different directions. But I'm sticking with the whole bottom of darkness stuff. I'm sticking with that I am the savior of the Jewish people. And I think, like, when they realize that, maybe that should wake some up. But I definitely, I'm the only one I know like this. I'm the only person I know, like I was the only person I know talking about Team Jorge. The first video I saw acknowledging Team Jorge was just a couple of months ago. And I was, like, shocked seeing it. Like, holy shit, about time, And then the ACT-IL thing, I've never heard anybody else talk about ACT-IL. I've never heard anybody else talk about the megaphone thing that I discovered yesterday, the megaphone tool. That basically, you just, by putting this tool on your computer, it creates an avatar for you that anytime there's anything Israel, pro-Israel, against Israel, your avatar automatically finds it, votes positively for Israel, whether it's against the thing or for the thing, and might even make a comment on your behalf. And that's just fucking incredible. And it's you know, when it comes down to the fact that I know it, me, I'm not some hacker. I'm not even proficient with the computer. I'm pretty dumb. You know, I'm open and proud to say my source is Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is what Israel wants us to know. So, you know, I'm not going to shy away from it or anything. Like that's Israel wants us to know these things, so I know them. It's not like it's some conspiracy theorist. It's not like it's some random YouTube video or whatever. So when you find the ACT-IL, and the ACT-IL link will be is in the description, along with the Team Jorge link. The Megaphone link isn't there yet because I just discovered it yesterday. But these are smoking guns. These are, you know, if the link is in the description as well for the Naftali Bennett video where he proudly claims that they control Wikipedia, and they're there to teach. Israel was there to teach Wikipedia editors how to edit things so that they are balanced and Zionist in nature. So anything that you read about Israel, Jewish people, this, that, and the other on Wikipedia is approved, is Jew-Israeli approved. It's pro-Zionist. It's balanced and Zionist in nature. It's not just paints Jews in a nice light. It's Zionist. And that's a big deal. But I use Wikipedia because that's what they want me to use. And it really doesn't take much snooping to start going down some pretty strange rabbit holes regarding them. And the ACT-IL thing and the Team Jorge page. These are pages on Wikipedia that anybody can find. Right? There's no secret encryption or fucking, you know, gotta have clearance to be able to see these things or whatever. It's so well known, my dumbass sees it. My dumbass knows about it. And if that's the case, well, that's pretty telling. That is pretty telling. I just think it's time. It's like they put it out there as almost like a flex, you know. They're just fucking around. They're just assholes. And they're like, hey, look at this. Look how obvious it all is. By the way, if you talk about this, then you're gonna get in trouble. And I'm just so sick of their fuckery, man. Their ruse, all of it. It's just so stupid. We are the better ones. Like, we are, you know, physically superior, mentally superior. The only reason that they're in charge is because of what they're willing to do, because of their ruthlessness, because they can starve an entire population, you know, knowing that children are starving and they're blockading the ships from coming. You know, this is just wild, and it shows you that, like, that they have infiltrated and controlled every aspect of our government and essentially every aspect of our lives. You know? Nobody in good consciousness can say anything good about Israel. And believe me, I know, because I've been doing this for such a long time. And no one ever does. You know? It's like they might say some pull cord, you know, Israel belongs to the Jews or some shit like that. But outside of that, there's nothing. There's nothing. And it's actually, I mean, it's kind of surprising, really. You know, you would think after all this time, somebody would have had something nice to say about them. Somebody would have, you know, been able to defend them and their cult. Even a little bit. Somebody would have just been able to say the good things that they do. They don't, it's not even like they invent things, right? You might have that misconception that they've helped out on the technological side or whatever. Well, if you give, you know, endless billions of dollars to any group of people, they're gonna come up with advancements. They're gonna do incredible things in the realm that money requires, right? But there's this video I saw once, and it was about the slums of shit. Which one? Can't I think of it? It's not. It's India somewhere, but it's specifically whatever. Specifically one place, Mumbai maybe. I don't remember. But you've all seen that famous picture of like the sky rise. Oh, that one's in Brazil, I think. But it's just one of those things where you have like, there's a wall, and on one side of the wall is the slums, and on the other side is the rich area, and the rich area keeps bulldozing and taking over more and more areas of the slums, leaving those people just fucked. Where are they going to go? Who cares? The rich people want their place. Well, in these Indian slums, this one guy had figured out how to take like laundry soap tubs, like the Tide containers and shit like that. And he invented a process where you break those down and somehow turn them into leather handbags and shit. Very, very high quality leather handbags. And his operation employed like 20 people. There were the tub gatherers, there were the washers, there were the breaker downers, there were the, you know, the sewers, the finishers, whatever. And see, you're not a good Christian because you're clearly not at church, you dumbass. And obviously you're a female who's speaking out of turn. You don't want to understand that, or you don't like that verse, so you just ignore it because you're an arrogant piece of shit. Just keep proving it. You know, the 1 Timothy 2:12. These dumb broads never like 1 Timothy 2:12. Doesn't mean it's not there. But this guy, with nothing, based on ingenuity alone, had found not just a way to employ people, but it also kept that area relatively clean because the people were going around and collecting all the little plastic tubs and shit. And so there was this whole network of are you assuming my gender? Yeah, Sharon Karen is a dead giveaway. Now, if you're just saying you're some weirdo pretending to be a female, that doesn't surprise me. But again, that's the response of somebody too stupid to actually engage in what's being talked about. So now they try to distract and go in a different direction. And it's fantastic. But, you know, this guy ended up, he lived in this, like, what was considered like a huge place by slum standards. And he had like 12 family members living in like a, 800 square foot apartment or some shit. Like, it was crazy. But it was considered really, really nice. But it's just, okay, so do you think if that guy was given a substantial percentage of $3.8 billion a year by the U.S., do you think he could come up with something else? Do you think he could make things better? What about that one dude that's making the plastoline? That black dude turning fucking plastic into gas. He disappeared for a little while, but then he came back and, whatever. But just think about think about the kid that, this is a story that's always interesting to me. Oh, here we go, Roman Salts. This dude is schizophrenic. There we go. Standard Jew comment, because they can't argue anything. And schizophrenic is one of their main weapons. What Jews do, because they're not very smart, they're actually really stupid, inbred stupid, is they constantly try to make the people that speak against them seem crazy. Because crazy is dismissive, Dave Chappelle. And so their only real weapon is to try to get somebody that's watching to be like, he's crazy, so I'm not going to hear what he's saying. And you'll see that everywhere. Anytime anybody ever tries to talk to a Jew about anything, that's what they do. They try to paint you as crazy. And it goes all the way back to the foundation of Zionism, which, again, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you guys don't know it, but you could. You could easily look it up. And the formation of Zionism is said to begin with the auto-emancipation pamphlet. Right? It's this auto-emancipation pamphlet that in 1882 that lays out the parameters for Zionism. The idea of a Jewish-only state and in Israel. Like, that's, people think Israel was first formulated with the Balfour Declaration, but the Balfour Declaration is just it's just a ruse. It's nothing. The Balfour Declaration is the Rothschild Declaration, but it's just a formality. It's not the beginnings of anything. It's not the, it's really nothing. The auto-emancipation pamphlet of 1882 lays out the idea of a need for Israel, for Jews to have their own homeland, just like everybody else does, and everybody is, doesn't like them, and they're just being mean to them. And if you don't accept their Jewish supremacy, it's because you have a mental disorder. And that's basically what they hide on. They hide, they're the ones that think mental illness is funny. When you think back on on Hollywood through the years, and it wasn't until the late 80s or so when the sort of Jew-only ownership and production and all that sort of started to be challenged. And they needed to start creating a narrative showing that non-Jews had power in Hollywood. Oh, we're gonna have to let some black people direct some videos, some movies, and shit like that. But prior to that, like especially the older you get, the more mental illness is seen as a joke, is seen as entertainment. You know, if you think back on the cartoons, there's always the one really that guy. That's their creation. We didn't do that. We didn't make mental illness funny, but they did. And there's actually a really famous video or movie called Freaks, where I mean, even think about like the idea of the traveling circuses and shit, and they would have these people who didn't fit the norms, so they would they would be sold to the circus. And one of those things you'll see a lot of is there's a real famous cartoon of Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, Bugs Bunny, and Elmer Fudd is like this big H.G. Wells kind of star, and he's walking through New York City, through the New York Park, the big, what the fuck it's called, but he's walking through there, and there's all the stars of the day, Hal Jolson's there, and he's doing his mammy, his shtick with that, and then there's whatever. There's just a bunch of the different big names of the time, bo like that, and Clark Gable, and Elmer Fudd's just walking by them. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. You are one big loser. At least you spelled loser right this time. I'm such a big loser. You watch me. But he sees Bugs Bunny and he's like, Bugs Bunny, oh my gosh, you're so great. I need you for my act. We'll be famous. You'll get top billing right underneath me and blah, 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 like all this shit. And Bugs is like, okay. Like Bugs is on Skid Row. He's out on his own. He's basically like a drunk on a park bench, right? And so their act is that Bugs Bunny becomes the Pinhead. And the Pinhead is exactly that, really. It's, what's up, Will? Laura and Hardy, etc. I remember that cartoon. Right, exactly. So the act is that Elmer Fudd will say a joke. Hey, Pinhead, what do you get when you do this? And the Pinhead says, I don't know, all stupid. And he's short, his feet are wide, and he's shaped like a triangle, basically. And Fudd slaps him in the face with a pie and sprays him in the face with seltzer water, which is, for some reason, spraying somebody in the face with seltzer water and hitting them with a pie was literally like the peak of comedy hilarity, again, up until the 80s, when they absolutely controlled things. You would still see these same fucking routines and jokes and all that over and over again. As a matter of fact, when you watch cartoons, I'm just fascinated by cartoons. Because I personally don't understand how they came up with that technology. Especially since the oldest cartoons are just so incredibly beautiful, and lots of them are there'll be like symphonies playing behind them, and the steps, every step, the animation goes with the music. How do you animate something to make it go with the music? I mean, it's just think about that. You would have to be listening to it as you're animating it. How would you're counting the steps so that each step goes along with a certain note in the thing. Like, that's really incredible technology. And that's basically one of the first film technologies they were able to come up with, right? Like, it's really crazy. But that whole Pinhead character, and it's also weird how you don't see those people anymore. Like, people aren't born Pinhead. It sure seems like in the late 18s, early 19s, there were a lot of people being born with genetic deficiencies. And considering they hadn't poisoned the water yet, they hadn't, at least according to the narrative, there weren't, planes dropping all kinds of shit, there weren't bombs being set off, there wasn't radiation. Where were all these weird genetic mutations coming from that were so prominent back in the day? Right? It's weird when you think about it. Another thing that's weird is how come I was watching a video of the celebrity sport competition. It was a thing about how Gabe Kaplan and Robert Conroy, or whatever his name was, had a beef that lasted for years based on this show. And Robert Conroy is supposed to be like the man's man kind of guy, and he's supposed to be this macho dude, and he challenges Gabe Kaplan to a race after he flips out over some bullshit. And Gabe Kaplan, the piece of shit Jew, happened to be a champion runner back in high school and college, and the dude didn't know about it, right? So Gabe smokes him. But at the same time, in between event, just before the event, you see Robert Conroy smoking a cigarette. And if you look in the background, you see just everybody smoking cigarettes. You can watch old boxing footage and it's all smoky because everybody was smoking cigarettes. They used to basically tell us to smoke cigarettes. And yet, when you think about all of the stars that have died from lung cancer, how many can you name? Why aren't there more lung cancer deaths, especially in Hollywood, where these people were, smoking? It's hard to imagine it now, but smoking was like a part of who you were. Smoking was like an accessory. And yet there's not a whole bunch of those people those famous people from the past who have died from it. I was tripping with a friend and we were watching a Disney Fantasia film. It's amazing how beautiful the old animations were. Right, well, when they drew everything out, each piece, each frame was drawn. But the whole idea of like, I just think the whole cancer thing is fucking strange. That I can't think of anybody offhand. I mean, I know there are a few, but there should just be so many Hollywood starlets that died of lung cancer when you compare it to what happened to the Goyim. Strange, but the idea of mental illness being funny, just being a funny thing. I saw this video on Facebook where this goofy Jew is riding his bike and a skateboarder comes out from the skateboarder's in front of him, and the skateboarder just sort of skates out, not paying attention to what's coming from behind him, and the Jew who has the camera on the bike hits him. Like, it's not the skateboarder's fault. You rode into the back of him. Morning, Jaden. And it's obvious if you watch the video and you see the guy get up and and you hear him, it's like, oh, he's a Jewish guy. All right, I get it. So I posted on the video, Free Palestine. And I immediately get hit with a couple of, there's always the laughy faces, and it's always a Berg or something like that, Stein. But the first comment is a picture of a kid in a helmet who is clearly compromised, like severely compromised. And underneath it says Free Palestine, but the letters are like capitals in the wrong place. Some are backwards, basically insinuating that Free Palestine is mental retardation. And then they end up commenting, and of course, when I point out the Matitza Bapé aspect of their pedo cult, immediately two of them, almost like they knew each other, are like, oh, this is schizophrenia. Oh, you need your meds. And I just thought it was so validating, because I've been seeing it for such a long time on here, but I don't get into Facebook commenting too much. But to see it in the comment section, you know, 2 out of the 3 people that are commenting are using the same rhetoric. It really is kind of shocking, right? And when it comes to anything Hollywood, like especially old school Hollywood, it's pretty openly, you know, all Jewish. There's no real, like, it's not hidden, right? You support Palestine because tell us about Islamic Chiboy. Like, look at this shit. Look at this dumbass shit. Like that just, this is the best they can come up with. Just dumb shit. Crybaby, you know, at the end of their wits, trying to desperately come up with some sort of crybaby something. Because they can't be like, oh, well, you know, the Jews are good because of this, and Israel helps the world because of that, and you know. It basically comes down to biblical shit. But if they know you don't believe in biblical shit, then they're just going to skip over it. And it immediately becomes mental illness. Oh, mental illness. It's mental illness. It's mental illness. It's mental illness. It's mental illness. And because they used Hollywood to make mental illness such a you know, such a stereotype, and, you know, have such a stigma to it. It works, you know. It works. It doesn't work as well as it used to, but it works. And that's all you'll ever see with these fuckers. Like, I'm using their sources. You know, Wikipedia is their source. I'm talking about their shit. They should, at the very least, be proud to engage in these sort of conversations. They should use their superior wit and their superior knowledge to really educate us dumb goyim as to why we should be willing slaves. But it's their insane arrogance that really drives this, because they think you should just be it. You shouldn't even get it. You don't deserve an explanation. You should just be this because we say to be this. Indonesia, well, nice. I gather you are pro-Sam, blah, blah, blah. Look at this shit. Anything you can try to do to attack the messenger, not the message. And the thing is, like I say, I think I'm the savior of the Jewish people. Because I'm trying to tell them, hey, this is what you're doing. You'll never, ever, ever see one of them come on here and be like, you know, you're wrong about this because of this, or you're right. The Matitza B'Pei is awful. The Bottom of Darkness, Israel Hayom article, that I don't know what you call it. I wish I knew what to call the you know, the persistent abuse. I don't know what it's officially called, what the rituals are called. But it's really fucking really well documented and outlined by their own people. You know, their own shit. Right? Like, even, look at how stupid this comment is. You're, Y-O-U-R, obsessed with feeling your, Y-O-U-R, point is relevant when you lack education. Right. What I should be doing is just talking about stuff I don't know about. I should just be talking about stuff I think I'm wrong about. Like, who isn't going to use their platform to speak about things that they know, that they're learning, that they've discovered? Like, this, you know, and the thing is, you're showing that you can respond to things you want to respond to. So how come there's never any intelligent defense of the Jews, of Israel? It never happens. They're not going to come on here and tell me I'm right, but you can gauge the truth on their responses. First of all, you know my source material is what they want us to know. Secondly, they can't come in here and actually disagree. And third, they try to shoot the messenger. They're trying to make it, I'm the bad guy. Like, that's not how arguments take place. That's not how debates take place. That's not how knowledge and progress is gained. This is just some crybaby shit. And this just proves my point. They really are inferior and stupid. Right? They're in, and that's what happens. Inbreeding, man. These are inbred pieces of shit. Why do you think they look so off-putting? I mean, we all know, or at least we think we know, what happens when relatives breed together. The Whitakers are a great example of what happens when relatives breed together. But what would the Whitakers be like if they had money? If they weren't just poor mountain people who barely getting by and shit. What happens when you have those same children, but they're able to go to the best schools? They're able to get the best help possible. They're able to get the eye surgery to fix their shit. Right? It's pretty fucking crazy. So you're a messenger of misinformation. Yep. Funny again, which part's wrong? Instead of the blanket crybaby thing, why don't you say which thing I'm getting wrong? Wouldn't that work out better? Couldn't you tell me what exactly I'm misinforming people on? And when you look at their who these people are, they look like Whitakers, just with money, with what the best has been able to provide them. The Whitakers, the real Whitakers, they weren't forced to go to school and forced to go to the best schools. They weren't given all the treatment possible and psychiatrists and therapists and all that shit. None of that. These were mountain people who, their parents were so dumb, they didn't know the benefits of school, and to make them go to school just didn't work, and you needed them home to work on the farm or out gathering mushrooms or whatever. Yeah. And it's none of this shit is secrets. None of this shit is unavailable to the average person. I never claim to be some sort of super sleuth detective cracking the codes and all this other shit to get some special information that nobody else has access to. Everything I talk about can be validated and verified by you at any time. You liberal as you want. I want a man. It's nice, man. Yeah, anarchy sounds great. That's what I'm talking about. See what I mean? Like, they do that thing where it's like going from extremes. If you don't want them to rule you, then you must want anarchy. Like, who even thinks along that line? What facts are you talking about? Lots of facts. The Jews are the worst people in the world. The auto-emancipation pamphlet being the start of Zionism, and in that pamphlet that's relatively small, they even, they lay it out. It's a mental disorder if you don't accept the idea that they are special, that they get their own land and they get the Semitism demand. Because you're illiterate. Oh, I love it. Because you are illiterate. Could you ask for somebody to be dumber than that? Because you are illiterate. This is what I'm up against, really? But see, I promise you, this is the best they can do. They're really stupid. They might be able to, put one out on TV that seems really smart, a Ben Stein or something like that, who might be very good at regurgitating shit. But they're not smart. They're not good at just being reasonably intelligent people. And the other thing is, when English isn't your first language, it's the yours and the theirs and the twos and stuff like that you have the hardest time with. Lots of foreign people will say the same thing. It's confusing to have, one word mean multiple things spelled different ways. And so they have a really hard time with that, right? They're just dumb as shit. And they're also Israeli. English isn't their first language. They speak Yiddish, they speak Hebrew, the newest language on the planet. You guys know that Hebrew is the newest language on the planet? Another one of these facts that's kept from you. Hebrew was invented, not revised, invented in the late 1800s, early 1900s by a guy called Eliezer Ben Yehuda and the committee, the Hebrew committee. He published the first Hebrew dictionary sometime after 1903. There's no arguing it, right? You're full wrong. My full wrong what? Your full wrong toast? Your full wrong recipe? What are you talking about? So what the fuck does my vocabulary have to do with how you talk? Okay, come on, smarty pants. Let's see if you can figure this out. I think you can. That's why you're getting mad. And now you're swearing. Oh, he's angry because he realizes how stupid he is. And that he's probably too stupid to actually correct the problem. So he's just going to keep making the same dumbass mistakes, even after it's been pointed out to him multiple times. But what we're basically in right now is an intelligence contest. And if you can't even get the words right, if you can't even spell basic third grade grammar bullshit correctly, you automatically lose. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're saying. You could be saying really, really poignant shit. And if you can't get your fucking basic wording correctly on a computer that's literally telling you the right word to use and you're picking the wrong one, sure, the term it can be described as belonging to or associated with someone that is being addressed. Your, you apostrophe R-E, on the other hand, is a contraction and is used to shorten you are. There you go. You would think that these super smart Israelis would be able to figure that out. But actually, to me, it seems to point to the idea of the bot farm a lot more than anything else. Because if it was a real human, that feeling of embarrassment would be there. they would feel embarrassed and want to be correct and not want to make it so easy to make them look stupid. The computer doesn't have that feeling, so it doesn't see the need to change it. Right? And so I think it just more points to the Team Jorge side of things. Although, again, ignorance is very, very commonplace, especially among the inbred. And in fact, if you want real English, it's your. I love the idea that it's easier to type the wrong word is just fucking stupid. Again, you're on a computer. The computer tells you the right word to use. You can just pick it, especially if you're on your phone. We're not talking about like the difference between carrying the pail of water, 20 feet as opposed to 100 feet. This is simple shit. It's actually made to make it easier for you. But that's, it's just the fact that you would argue it. Like if it's pointed out that you're saying something wrong, that you don't go, oh shit, you know what? You're right. You got me on that one. Okay. Thank you. That's kind of embarrassing. And then you just move on and not make the same thing. But instead, you're like, no, it's okay that I used the wrong word. It's just an ignorance I don't have. I'm right? English, do your speak it. Exactly. Not the wrong word, and no, dumbass. That's your assumption. I'm on a computer. Well, I have a feeling you're not writing anything out. Right? I don't think you're writing anything. Or sign language. I'm pretty sure it's not sign language. Are you using a typewriter? Is that what it is? I guess you're using a typewriter. My bad. That was weird. But this is all, a great distraction, right? It's a great distraction. It stops us from talking about auto-emancipation, stops us from talking about Judaism and Hollywood and how it's all connected and, and definitely we're not talking about the bottom of darkness. I wish I knew what the whole thing was called. The bottom of darkness link is in the description, and every single one of you should read it, although it's going to be very difficult to read it. Because it's the only time I've ever experienced this, but the website will keep kicking you off the article. It'll keep throwing up ads. It'll keep moving you to different articles. Well, a different article. I saw, actually, the last time I tried it, moved me to 2 different articles, but that only happened once. But it'll move you to the how Israel destroyed Assad's navy article over and over again. Like a pro-Israel propaganda piece. Instead of the, take it easy, Jaden, instead of the insanity that is the bottom of darkness article. And the fact that you don't see the Jews coming out in droves, demanding that this whole thing be eliminated, it tells you everything, People want to say, oh, there's good Jews and there's bad Jews. Look, there are Jews out there that are defending Palestine. There's that lady in the pink that's defending Palestine. Yeah? Is she telling everybody to read the Israel Hayom article? Even the Israel Hayom article itself is a propaganda piece. Ouch. You know, the maniacs that are supposedly on the good side. I mean, it's Sheldon Adelson's baby, right? Sheldon Adelson. This is Israel's #1 free weekly paper. Like, it's as propaganda as it gets. It's a free paper distributed to everybody. You know, that costs money. And I know, you know, they sell ad space and whatnot. That's fucking silly. But it's definitely not some... I was just thinking about something. Sorry. It's definitely not some condemnation of what's going on. It's definitely not some little podunk paper. I mean, like the Israel Hayom is a huge paper. It's very, very credible, at least as far as the propaganda goes, I guess. Look at this shit. Liberals triggered. We're loosing. Who's loosing? Who's loosing? Are any of you loosing? Man, I didn't know you could loose. We're loosing. Loosing. Hey, what's loosing mean? What's loosing mean? Please tell me. Come on, smarty pants. Tell us what loosing means. And now look, are you loosing too, Peter? Oh man. Now this dumbass is trying to get the conversation. Microsoft, who gives a fuck? I'm sure there are plenty of people talking about what Microsoft is doing with Israel. I'm not. You know, talk about Project Nimbus. Talk about the Pegasus software. Talk about the Promise software. Talk about these other things that have long been exposed. The fact that so many things have been exposed and it still exists shows you who controls our government. Israel has been more than exposed as like being our enemy. From the Liberty to the Promise software to all the spies and all this other, you know, the 3 listening devices found in around the White House, triangulating around the White House, intercepting every call going in and coming out of the White House, found in 2016, attributed to Israel, and then the story disappeared. Oh, poor little crybaby. What does that even mean? Like, again, I get it. You're fucking stupid. And now you're making jokes about people, about children starving. Seriously. Who does that? I know people I know don't do that. Like, jokes about kids starving to death and being bombs dropped on. That shit's not funny. So again, a lot of times they're not going to acknowledge that they're Israeli. But only Israelis are going to do this kind of shit. And you have to look at the multiple, you know, bits of proof that you're given, from the inbred stupidity to the dumb jokes, you know, the tasteless, disgusting jokes, to the you know, the misinformation. Like, it's all really obvious. Must be my schizophrenia acting up again, right? Run out of shit to say. Let's go back to crack. It's mental illness. You need to take your pills. I mean, they just can't help but do this. And like I say, this is the best they have. Just because you don't recognize the name doesn't mean no. Dershowitz or whatever could come in and make it saying it any better. You ever notice how I've been doing this for such a long time and not a single rabbi, not a single moil, not a single other dumb Jewish hierarchy member ever comes in to try to convince me that I'm wrong? Right? Don't you think that's strange? Oh, I have zero people watching. The censorship lately has just been insane. Literally since the Kirk shooting, the censorship has gotten outrageous. I'm just waiting for Trump to send the troops to Detroit. It's just fucking crazy. It's just wild. I have 5 likes, and now I'm back up to 5 viewers. It had dropped down to 0, but now it's up to 5. 5 likes, 5 viewers. That's how YouTube works. You don't hear every single fucking person say, hit the like button, it helps with the algorithm, blah, 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 blah. You think this is the 5 likes, 1 viewer? That makes sense, doesn't it? That's how that works. Why would it be that way? To me, this is all just so telling. They literally tried everything they could. They would send multiple profiles to the feed to try to talk shit and all that. And my feed was just roaring along. Thousands of views, slowly building. And then suddenly, it just stops. And this is how this works. They do this. They let me have the viewers, and they don't, and they do, and they don't. But I knew something was going on with the feed before it happened. And I said, first of all, I predicted there was going to be some sort of shooting. And secondly, I told you that once they started fucking with the feed, it was like, hey, something's going on here. What are we supposed to miss? It's interesting that they would think I would talk about Charlie, and maybe they know I won't, other than say a few things. I'm not going to get stuck on Charlie. I think Charlie is a distraction. But the things that I say, it's surprising that nobody else is saying them. People are talking about the bits and pieces that you should be able to put together and see it for what it is, but you don't. And if you want to know what those things are, come right back, because I'm going to have to reset. Pedophiles, kill yourself.